Do you see how it's like? Remember I was telling you it's like the shrimp shell or something? Okay, so that right there is dura mater. And then if we come over here to this brain right here, can you see where it looks like a spider web? That's our arachnoid mater. Can you see all of that black? It's elastic and collagen fibers and blood vessels that are spreading throughout. That's it. Watch how I can tear through the arachnoid mater. So I see how I'm tearing through the arachnoid mater right there? See, I'm tearing through that. And then right on top of the brain, again, you can't even peel it off or anything, that would be the pia mater. Now, when you have this view right here, you can see several structures. This would be the left cerebral hemisphere, right cerebral hemisphere, longitudinal fissure, transverse fissure. You can't see very well the lateral on this one, the lateral fissure, but you can see nicely this part of the brain, cerebellum, and then if I turn it over, can you see these two structures right here? What are those? Olfactory bulbs. Very good, Lauren. Olfactory bulbs. Remember, the olfactory bulbs sit in the cribriform plate. Remember? In the cribriform plate. So notice in the sheep, these are sheep brains, they're a little bit larger than they would be in humans just because they really rely on their sense of smell. If I turn it over this way, you can see this first little hump right here. That would be the pons, and this over here would be medulla. There's not much past that medulla. If we look at this brain right here, it has a little bit more. You can see again the first hump, pons, and this over here, medulla. And then can you see here, this has really nice arachnoid mater. Can you see that membrane covering right there? That would be that. One other thing, structure that you need to look for when you're looking at the whole brain is this right here. Can you see this X right here? That's the optic chiasm. That is the olfactory nerves that are coming from the eye come over here and they cross at this point. Once they go in towards the brain, from here to here, we call it optic tracts. So coming from the eyes are the nerves, crossing is the optic chiasm, and then going into the brain is the optic tract. Likewise, this is the olfactory bulb, and then this part where it goes here into the brain, that's called the olfactory tract. If you find your optic chiasm, that also will allow you to see the third ventricle. Can you see where I'm putting my probe? Remember how I said the third ventricle was formed by the hypothalamus and thalamus here, in that little space? So what I'm doing is I'm sticking my probe right up there above, it'd be like sticking it right here, okay? So again, you can find that third ventricle really easily. And then the other structure you need to look for is if you come back over here to the superior side of the brain and you push the cerebellum back. Do you guys see anything there? Corpora quadrigemina. Corpora quadrigemina. Can you see that, Elsa, from your view? Over here, Donna? Right here. Everybody see the corpora quadrigemina. So that's an easy way. So what you're going to do is you want to identify, the gyri, the sulci, all the structures that you can on the outside. Then you just grab your knife and you're going to do a mid-sagittal section. So just go down that lateral fissure. Before you do, just kind of slightly take it apart. You can even just use your dull probe to go through the arachnoid mater that's covering that longitudinal fissure. And if you open it like this, you will see a piece of a white band that is going across. Can you guys see that white band right deep in there? Can you see that white band? What is that white band right there going across? Can you see that white there? That's the corpus callosum. Remember how I said it goes across to allow both sides of the brain to communicate with each other? Okay, so take a look at it there, and then you're going to cut it and you'll see it in its typical mid-sagittal form. Okay, so I'll come around when you've identified everything, call me and I'll check you off to make sure that you've got everything down. Oh, I guess I should, I'm sorry, a few other things. In our sagittal section, first of all, notice this mess right here. This mess is choroid plexus. All of this right here is capillaries covered by ependymal cells. It's coming from this space right here. This right here is our corpus callosum. Can you see this thin membrane right there? Watch, I can poke through that membrane. And what am I putting my probe? Look at that huge space now. What is that? All of that space. That's the lateral ventricle. Remember how I told you up and around? We're going to put our probes in there. And look what I see now on the inside of that. What's that right up there? What's that? This little structure right there, inside of that ventricle. Choroid plexus. This is the lateral ventricle. So here's lateral ventricle. This right here, this circle, would be the thalamus. And what's this circle over here? Pineal gland. So here's thalamus, here's pineal gland. This is the optic chiasm. So all of this region right here is hypothalamus. Not much of it, kind of hard to see on here, right? But you can see this round circle, the thalamus. So here's the lateral ventricles. Notice how I can put my probe here in this third ventricle, and I can continue following it along this way. Here's my cerebral aqueduct. How do I know it's cerebral aqueduct? Because here's my corpus quadrigemina, I'm in the midbrain. And then right here, all of this is what? Fourth ventricle. And then what am I putting my probe in? Now I should be able to follow it all the way. What's that? Central canal. Very good. So let's look one more time, another view. Identify this area of the brain. Thalamus. Identify this area of the brain. Pineal gland. Identify this white right up here. Corpus callosum. And what's this? Identify this area of the brain. Lateral ventricle. Identify this space right here. Be your third ventricle plus, the space in between. And then this would be our cerebral aqueduct. How do we know? Here's your little corpus quadrigemina, right? Right here. So this space right here. See how you can put your probe in it? That's where the cerebrospinal fluid. And then right here, fourth ventricle. And then all the way to over here, central canal. Okay, now, I'm sorry, I want to make sure.